The birthplace of the Bohemian Revolution from Cowork 591 Studios. This is the Steve Brown Art Center Podcast Network with producer Blake Tempus. I'm Jim Gillespie, and co-host Dale Rueber is here, and this is the Jesup News for January 22nd, 2024.
Okay, you talk about the elections yet?
Well, let me tell everybody what we're going to talk about tonight a little bit.
I'm very anxious to get into this.
I know you are. We're going to talk about the election a little bit. Finally got those people out of our state, saw the semis driving out of the state.
Yeah, well, they left their $300 million, so we appreciate that.
Thank you. Waved at them as they went.
Yeah. Did you get any of it?
I didn't get a penny of it.
I didn't either. So.
We're going to talk about the election. We're going to talk about winners and losers. As always, Dale and I are going to talk about one particular baseball team. We're going to talk about a rising star in Iowa. We're going to talk about a Soviet minimalist called S. Did I butcher that word?
Well, I don't know. But.
We're going to talk about donating time or money and what is more valuable.
And somehow some words your tongue just won't wrap around it.
It's like aluminum and that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Dale has something for you, and we look at the Steve Brown Art Center calendar. We're tonight's going to be sort of a different genre. I wanted to talk about the Steve Brown Art Center mission. Our mission is a little different from most because the Art Center is a little different from most. We don't have a home. What we do is a lot of fun, and it is for the artists. Mm-hmm. And so here are our values, or our mission, I guess. Our values are, our organization is meant to highlight the artist. It's not here for the members of the Art Center. It is to make the artists look good. We want to help as many artists. One of our missions is to get better all the time. This month, we have actually in the next 4 weeks, we have 7 events, counting the podcasts. So we're looking to get better all the time. We're highlighting the artist is what is important. Highlighting the artist is what's important, not the process. So we do things different, but at the end, we want the artist to shine. That's our goal. We want to stretch what everyone says is possible. So if they say only this is possible, we want to take it a little farther. We want to make it better than what people think. Because we don't have a home, we want to live off the land. You look at it, and here we are. Thanks to the kindness of Heartland and Cowork 591 and Kelly, we are here every Wednesday night to tape this. And you have a product every Monday. It starts Monday, and you can listen to it any time. You can go back the first of 60 shows and listen to them anytime you want to. And that's a cool thing.
Only if you remember, it's not the James Brown Art Center, it's the Steve Brown Art Center.
That's
Someone
right.
at home knows who I'm speaking to.
But we live off the land a little bit. We've had things in the library. We're going to have something in the firehouse in February. We're going to have something in the Allerton Brewery. We had something in Legacies. We had something in the Littleton Chatham Historical Society. We go where people have us. We're going to have something at Winding Creek also this month. So it is sort of a nomadic. Some other things or dangers to us are when people say no. Because when they say no, they don't think we can do it. And so that's a danger to us. Ambitions are a danger to us. It's not about the Art Center, it's about the artist. We want the artist to be ambitious, not the Arts Center isn't, we're not trying to look good. We want the artists to look good, if that makes sense. We don't want negative personalities. We want positive people around us, and it seems like everyone we have here on the podcast, the people that come and want to help with the Arts Center, like Dale, like Blake, like Joe Olson, like Kira, like the board, is incredibly positive about it. There's no danger in knowing there is dangers in knowing our weakness. We want to play to our strengths. We're going to I talked about the Grinnell system last week, and the Grinnell system plays to people's strengths, and we want to play to our strengths. And another danger is getting too much on the plate. We don't want to overdo it, and everything looks bad. We try to do at least one event a month, and usually it's 4 or 5, 6 events a month, counting the podcast, but one highlighted special. And lastly, in our mission, when we do this, it won't be pretty. And thanks to people like Blake and Dale and Alex Relo, Joe Olson, the many artists that we've sponsored, it's been good. And even some of it's been a little pretty, Dale. So those are our values. Dale, I know you wanted to talk about the election a little bit, the primaries. Let's
the caucuses.
The caucuses.
Yeah,
excuse me.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, last week we made some predictions.
Okay.
About how we thought it would turn out.
Right.
Okay. And we tied 2-2.
So what were you right at?
Well, you said that Trump would get 60% of the vote.
I was off.
And I said he'd get 45%. So you missed by 9, I missed by 6. So I counted myself the winner.
You're the winner there.
Okay. But then Haley, I said Haley would get 30%. And you said Haley would get 15%. So you were much closer than I was there. So that's a win for you at 19%.
And Dale, I was looking at the Iowa polls. And that's the closest. The Iowa polls came out just before last week, and the Iowa poll was wrong for the first time ever.
Yeah.
So go on.
Okay, then DeSantis, you said he'd get 14.8%. I said he'd get 20%. I only missed by 1 there.
You did real well.
And so I thought, okay, I won 2 to 1, but then I said, oh wait, we did this Ramaswamy guy.
Ramaswamy.
Okay, so I had to look him up tonight.
Yeah.
You said he'd get 5.4%.
Yeah.
I said he'd get less than 5%. Well, he got 7.7%. So you won that one. So it was just a tie ball game there. We didn't have a tiebreaker. So.
They speculate that he spent $4,250 for every vote he got in Iowa, is what they speculate.
Yeah. And the thing is, he knew this 6 months ago, but for some reason or other did not drop out, and he had the money, I suppose, so he spent it. I don't think anybody's come back from a number like he had 6 months ago to actually do well in one of these caucuses. People do not change their minds.
No, they don't. They don't.
So anyway, we didn't do too badly.
No.
We were pretty close with some of these, and be interesting when New Hampshire is just a few days away. I guess next week, probably next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
And well, that's tomorrow, isn't it? I have to think ahead of
there you go. There you go. It is tomorrow.
Every time. And so they'll have more information. It's interesting. Trump, he goes from the Iowa caucuses to New York to go to court, and the judge threatens to throw him out of the courtroom if he doesn't shut up. And then he's got to go to New Hampshire and, and campaign. And it'd be interesting how much money that lady gets out of this defamation thing. So, and it doesn't appear to make any difference to him. So I don't know.
Dale, I'll wake in the night and sometimes can't sleep, so I'll turn the television on. And I woke to what I thought was a Saturday Night Live with Donald Trump is selling baseball cards of himself.
Is he really?
He's already sold a segment. And this round he's selling like 49 cards, and he's calling them the mugshot cards. And in this round of cards, he has a patch of the suit that he was wearing when he was first he wasn't really arrested,
But indicted,
yeah. And each of those cards sell for $99.
Yeah.
So there are 49 cards. So basically,
Oh, not a pack, but a card sold for $99?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when I saw that mugshot, he was, they said he posed for several different, before he, I saw the devil, and that's what I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first impression was
It's a unique thing.
I've never seen anything like it.
You're a former member of the armed services, Dale, and if you would have been a felon, you couldn't have got into the armed services.
Yeah.
If Trump is elected, can he be commander in chief?
Well, yeah. I wouldn't bet one way or the other anymore the way things are going. He has some strange ideas about immunity and all that kind of stuff that, a logical person say, no, you couldn't, even if you're president, you can't do that. But he really seems to think that he could really do anything he wanted to do.
All right.
And that's not the way this country works.
Yep.
Okay, I don't. He gives me a tummy ache. I think about him too much. I can't sleep. So
there you go. All right. Well, then let's talk about the winners and losers for the week. I'll start. So
Okay.
I'll let your stomach calm down a little bit, Dale.
okay, Alka-Seltzer.
My stomach got upset when you made me put this Cub hat on.
Well, it won't hurt you to get a little education.
I should have brought my Yankee hat. Maybe another day. But first, let's talk about the winners and losers. My winner, to begin with, was the Iowa. I'm talking the people of the state of Iowa's basketball fans. The weekend before this past weekend, so it would have been the 11th and 12th,
Okay.
right in there. And here's why. If you look at the Drake men, the Drake women, the UNI men, UNI women, the Iowa State men, the Iowa State women, the Iowa men, and the Iowa women, they all went 14-0 for the weekend. That is, if you'd have made that parlay,
That'd have been a good bet, wouldn't
you
it?
could have made a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money. So the basketball fans of Iowa were the winner. Who's your winner?
I got to. It's the Blackhawk County Sheriff, Tony Thompson. Did you read about him?
No.
He has written a book called Any Place But Here, and it's about the problem with people with mental illnesses are packing the jails instead of treatment centers. And the quote I like is, "I pine for a legislature with a backbone." They've closed a couple. They had like 4 places like Independence that serve people, and now they just 2, I believe, Independence, and I don't know where the other one is. So these people are getting in trouble, and they put them in jail. And these people don't belong in jail, but that's where they're at, and they don't know. Like a lot of criminals know everything about the criminal justice system, and they know how to work it, and they know who to call, and they know where to go, and all this sort of thing. But these people are not that. They're not savvy with this area. They end up staying in jail 2 or 3 years with violent criminals because they don't know how to get out, and nobody advocates. They could get out, but nobody advocates for them. And so he's written this book, which the Jesup Public Library is ordering, called Any Place But Here, and it's Amazon, #1, hot new release. It was just kind of started very slowly all at once. It's kind of going like gangbusters as people are starting to read this. And so
I can remember when that came out.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
this first I heard. There's a nice article about it in the January 16th Courier. It says more than 60% of the inmates at Blackhawk County Jail are filled with individuals with mental illness that can be in there 2-3 years before they get any kind of treatment, any kind of service, so they can get out of there. and he said the money being spent to incarcerate these people are being misspent and doing anybody any good and end up costing us more in the long run. And, county sheriffs hate this because they have a budget, takes a bite out of their budget, and to try and it all goes back. I don't know if you read about there was a nurse that was killed in Fort Madison by 2 inmates.
Yep.
With hammers, and her family is now suing the state. And they say that the staffing at Fort Madison is the lowest it's been in 30 years. The Iowa legislature is so concerned about saving money, no services. The service is getting worse and worse. There's fewer highway patrolmen than ever before. We need prison guards. We need people in the jails. We need all kinds of people to offer these services that the legislature does not want to pay for, and it ends up costing us more in the long run, and even people get killed. The legislature not funding these safety programs like they should. Then we talked about the nursing home programs before, and how people are dying in those nursing homes that do not need to die. They're living terrible lives that they do not need to live that way. And a lot of it's because of the government funding, and the staffing is just so poor. Save money than anything. And that's something I don't understand. I look to the government to provide services, and I can't pay for it myself, for all the services for these people. But collectively, the whole state of Iowa, we all throw in some money, and you call it taxes. We can take care of these people. So anyway, he's my winner. I think it's nice of him to write. It took him a couple of years, but he got this book out. It's being well received, and it's really hitting the nail right on the head. Okay,
Dale, I was reading it. I follow the Limerick Leader. It's is the capital city in the county of Limerick in Ireland.
Okay,
and the chief of police there, they call it the chief of guard, or the head of the guard, the head of police. He said he would give back 4 out of every $5 that he's given to his budget if it was given to the community to make the community and the people better for things like that, for mental health, for hospitals, for things like that. And Ireland has always impressed me with how they handled their mentally sick, their addicts and their alcoholics and stuff. But even that has changed drastically. Like this man, he sees the police wouldn't need that money. They spend it on other things in the community.
Yeah, that actually would help.
Yeah. So my losers, again, are the people of Iowa, as they had to go out in 10 below zero weather to caucus last night, or this past weekend, or this past Monday night, and because of that, the numbers they figure were half of what they normally would get.
Okay, I had not heard that. But
they figure at least that the Republican Party figured those numbers. They got like 80,000, and they planned on like 200,000. I remember 4 years ago the Democrats planned on 110,000. They got a few less, but the weather was a little nicer for the Democratic primary.
Yeah.
So, but the people the poor people that had to go out in the weather during the caucus were my losers.
Yeah.
So
okay.
So, well, Dale, we've got.
Don't you want to hear my loser?
Yes, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Who are your losers?
Oh, I don't have one. No, I don't hear about the AEAs. The Area Education Associations are in the news because the governor has submitted a proposal, and they are starting to write legislation already to cut lots of money out of the AEAs. Probably will use that to pay the teachers more in the regular schools. I don't know, but it just seemed like they're just cutting them into little pieces and not wanting them to give the services they give. And again, if you look in the January 16 Courier, there's a whole page. And the one that really got to me is they talked about their child was born with mental deficiencies and couldn't talk and this sort of thing. And they say they wanted the kid to be included, the child, to school. And she says in kindergarten, if you color outside the line, so it's no big deal. But by the time you get to second grade and you can't read anything and you can't do anything along those lines, you really start to stand out. And so they went to the principal of their school, and it was Geneseo. And the principal said, well, he says, you can keep her here where she's the bottom student of the whole student body, or you can send her to River Hills where she'll be one of the top students in the school. And so they sent her to River Hills, and the child has just flourished and has gone through the school and has a couple different jobs and is doing just really, really well. And the main thing is very, very happy because she's had success all her life at her level. And those are the kind of programs that the area education agencies provide. And according to this law, the areas would have to sell all their property so there would be no more River Hills, and that the only service they could provide would be for special ed. One of the things that the people are talking about is the fact that the AEAs have crisis teams. And there was a crisis team that went to Perry to talk with students and faculty after the shooting there. And I remember several years ago, when I think we were both teaching at Jesup then, we had a death. One of the students died. And they had a crisis team in. And Mark Thomas was the one from the area that talked to us and helped me an awful lot as far as being able to communicate with my students about what had happened to this kid in the high school. And those people are ready all the time. There's just so many services that they provide, and I just think they're just public education one way. I don't know what they're thinking. And the thing is, they never talk about these things until after they're in office, and then all at once they start. The bargaining bill, they cut it out. This all at once, this came out of nowhere. I didn't know anybody was talking about this, and all at once the governor's talking about it, and the legislature's writing a bill. So anyway, I think we're all going to be the losers, everybody in the education field. If you got kids, especially kids that have problems, this is a losing situation for you, and you can call these people, but for the most part, they only care about what they want. And so this looks pretty scary to me. So they're my losers right there.
Thank you. That it is. That'd be hard, I would guess, to get through. They've done a lot to butcher stuff in the last 2 years, the last 2 sessions.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and I hate to be such a downer every time I get on here, but you read the paper and you think, God, I don't know. I don't understand it. Someday there'll be some good news.
There will be. Well, Dale, I want to tell you about a bartender before we talk about our...
Okay. One of your favorite people,
one of my favorite. Okay. He and I went to different schools together, this bartender.
Okay.
This bartender was a young bartender, and he was convinced to buy into a bar with another man. This man, when he bought in, he found out this man overreached his boundaries and had spent more than he had. So they went bankrupt. And this was in the 1800s, and they were sued. He had to pay like $500. Just got into the bar business, and he didn't have the $500. And so he had to sell everything he had. Well, then, in January of the following year, and he found out his partner had another bill of $1,100, which at the time or at now would be a value of about $100,000.
Okay.
And he went in front of the judge and he says, first off, I paid the lawsuit in October. He said, this is a different lawsuit, and the judge said, and you need to pay this one as well. And he whined and complained. The judge said, if you don't like it, and this bartender set out to be a lawyer, and 2 years later he was a lawyer.
Okay.
And he was a real good one. He was incredibly talented, and he became a state representative and a state senator, He became part of the House of Representatives of the United States, and danged if he didn't become president. Then he lost a son in office. President, that bartender, was Abraham Lincoln.
Oh.
So that's how he became a lawyer. And
Okay.
that's how, so anybody could be president in our country. From bartender to president, from the outhouse to the White House. So
I heard a bar story. Well, actually, I read it today. Two guys are drinking at a rooftop bar, getting pretty drunk, and finally one guy looks over the side. He says, "You know, I've heard that when buildings are built like this, real close together, there's an updraft that comes up, and that you can actually jump off the building, and the updraft would just, you wouldn't fall down; it would just lift you right back up." He said, "I think I'm going to try that," and he jumped off the building. He went down about 2/3, and all at once the updraft caught him, flew back up in his seat. And the other guy said, "Wow," he said, "I never would have believed this. I'm going to do that too." And he went over and jumped off the building, fell down and splat on the sidewalk. Bartender looked at the guy and said, "You're sure a mean drunk, Superman."
don't try that at home,
No,
ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
That is evil. All right. Well, with that said, Dale's a big baseball fan, and
Nothing
so
better than baseball, right?
There's
in
not.
January when it's 20 below zero, and they used to call it the hot stove league.
There you go.
Sit around, talk baseball, and so we decided we'd do a few baseball things tonight. February 13th, I think, is the first pitchers and catchers report. That's coming up a couple weeks.
It is.
And I really liked the way they changed the game last year. I'm going to rededicate myself to baseball this summer. I had gotten away because I didn't like the way it was going, but it was very entertaining last year. I'm going to try to get back into it some more. And I'm just telling my wife I can't mow the lawn till the ball game's over. So, okay, go ahead.
All right. Well,
Start out with the most famous baseball routines in history, right?
this is.
All right, so we're going to try to recreate it.
All right. So this is for you young people. You may not have known these two comedians were big in the 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some in the 50s, I think.
Yeah.
But, probably the 40s and early 50s.
Yeah.
I suppose.
I would agree. They did this on the radio. The first time I remember this, two freshman boys from my community, Artie Cuny and Zane Blessum, both of them were giant men, even as freshmen. Had a chance to try out with Packers, actually, and Zane ended up a lawyer like his father. Mm-hmm. But they were both incredibly nice guys, and I saw them do it as a play as freshmen in a talent show as freshmen.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
So this is called Who's On First?
It's like a radio play. If you ever heard a radio show back in the 50s and 40s and before that, they're on Sirius Classic Radio. Sirius Satellite Radio, they have a classic channel. They do radio programs. And so this would be something that would be on there if you had Abbott and Costello on, which they do appear on that show every now and then. So.
You can get this. You can get these on podcasts as well. Many of you I know listen to podcasts. So
People know how to do that?
they
all
I
right.
hope they do.
All right.
I hope they do. Our numbers wouldn't predict that. But,
We keep doing stuff like this, or never mind. Okay.
all right. So, well, Costello, I'm going to New York with you. You know, Bookie Harris, the Yankee manager, gave me a job as a coach for as long as you're on the team.
Look, Abbott, if you're the coach, you must know all the players.
I certainly do.
Well, you know, I've never met the guys, so you'll have to tell me their names, and then I'll know who's playing on the team.
Oh, I'll tell you their names, but you know, it seems to me they give these ball players nowadays very peculiar names.
You mean funny names?
Strange names, pet names like Dizzy Dean.
Oh, he's got a brother named Daffy,
Daffy Dean.
and their French cousin,
French.
Gouffet.
Well, let's see. We have on the bags who's on first, what's on second. I don't know who's on third.
That's what I want to find out.
I say, who's on first, what's on second. I don't know who's on third.
Are you the manager?
Yes.
You're going to be the coach too?
Yes.
And you don't know the fella's names?
Well, I should.
Well, then who's on first?
Yes.
I mean, the fella's name.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who?
The first baseman.
Who?
The guy playing.
Who's on first?
I'm asking you who's on first.
That's the man's name.
That's whose name?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
That's it.
That's who?
Yes.
You got a first baseman.
Certainly.
Who's playing first?
That's right.
When you pay off the first baseman every month, who gets the money?
Every dollar of it.
All I'm trying to find out is the fella's name on first base.
Who?
The guy that gets.
That's it.
Who gets the money?
He does every dollar. Sometimes, though, his wife comes in and collects it.
Whose wife?
Yes. What's wrong with that?
Look, all I want to know is when you sign up the first baseman, how does he sign his name?
Who?
The guy.
Who?
How does he sign?
That's how he signs it.
Who?
Yes.
All I'm trying to find out is what's the guy's name on first base?
No. What is on second base?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
One base at a time.
Well, don't change the players around.
I'm not changing nobody.
Hey, take it easy, buddy.
I'm only asking you, who's the guy on first base?
That's right.
Okay.
All right.
What's the guy's name on first base?
No. What's on second?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know.
He's on third. We're not talking about him.
Now, how did I get on third base?
Why, you mentioned his name.
If I mentioned the third baseman's name, who did I say is playing third?
No, who's playing first?
What's on base?
What's on second?
I don't know.
He's on third.
There I go, back on third again. Would you just stay on third base and don't go off it?
All right, what do you want to know?
Now, who's playing third base?
Why do you insist on putting who on third base?
What am I putting on third?
No, what's on second?
You don't want who on second?
Who's on first?
I don't know.
Third base.
You got an outfield?
Sure.
The left fielder's name?
Why?
I just thought I'd ask you.
Well, I just thought I'd tell you.
Then tell me, who's playing left field?
Who's playing first?
I'm not. Stay out of the infield. I want to know what's the guy's name in left field.
No, what's on second?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know. Third base. The left fielder's name?
Why?
Because.
He's our center field.
Look, you got a pitcher on this team?
Sure.
The pitcher's name?
Tomorrow.
You don't want to tell me today?
I'm telling you now.
Then go ahead.
Tomorrow.
What time?
What time what?
What time tomorrow are you going to tell me who's pitching?
Now listen, who's not pitching?
I'll break your arm. You say who's on first. I want to know what's the pitcher's name.
What's on second?
I don't know. Third base. Got a catcher?
Certainly.
The catcher's name?
Today.
Today and tomorrow's pitching.
Now you've got it.
All we got is a couple of days on the team. You know, I'm a catcher too.
So they tell me.
I get behind the plate to do some fancy catching. Tomorrow's pitching on my team, and a heavy hitter gets up. Now the heavy hitter bunts the ball. When he bunts the ball, me, being a good catcher, I'm going to throw the guy out at first base. So I pick up the ball and throw it to who?
Now that's the first thing you said right.
I don't even know what I'm talking about.
That's all you have to do.
Is to throw the ball to first base.
Yes.
Now who's got it?
Naturally.
Look, if I throw the ball to first base, somebody's got to get it. Now who has it?
Naturally.
Who?
Naturally.
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 So I pick up the ball and I throw it to naturally.
No, you don't. You throw the ball to who?
Naturally.
Well, that's different.
That's what I said.
You're not saying it.
I throw the ball to naturally.
You threw it to who?
Naturally.
That's it.
That's what I said.
You asked me.
I throw the ball to who?
Naturally.
Now you ask me.
You throw the ball to who?
Naturally.
That's it.
Same as you. Same as you. I throw the ball to who? Whoever it is drops the ball and the guy runs to second. Who picks up the ball and throws it to what? What throws it to I don't know. I don't know throws it back to tomorrow. Triple play. Another guy gets up and hits a long fly ball to because. Why? I don't know. He's on third and I don't give a darn.
What?
I said I don't give a darn.
Oh, that's our shortstop. Oh, that's good, Dale. I like that. That's just good for the soul. So, this is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network, and we're here with producer Blake Tempus at Cowork 591 Studios. As Kelly C. Haas has an event going out in the main auditorium right now. We are in the the Blake Tempus
Back room.
back room of the event center, and we are talking about baseball.
I have some puzzlers for you after a while. See how well you know the rules.
I want to change things a little bit. I want to go to basketball.
Okay, I mean, whoa, boy.
Yeah.
I read the story, the David and Goliath story.
David and Goliath
Very
story.
interesting.
Isn't that
I gave
great?
it to Deb to read. It was a very good story.
It is a wonderful
Yep.
story. Malcolm Gladwell is incredible. Incredible guy.
Yeah.
You know, he does a number of podcasts. He's extremely interesting.
Yeah, no, I thought that was very good.
Yeah. There was a number of books by Gladwell, and that's just part of a book.
Okay.
So, but anyhow, Caitlin Clark is tearing up things here at the Big Ten again, and people don't realize though that Iowa State is having a great year after starting real slow. Drake beat them early in the year by about 10, and Iowa beat them in Ames by about 10. But since then, Iowa State is leading the Big 12 right now. And
Undefeated, right, in the Big 12?
They're undefeated in the Big 12.
Just beat Baylor.
And they did, and they just received a forfeit by TCU tonight. TCU, for some reason, cannot put a team on the floor right now, and I don't know why that is.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah, but it is one of the reasons is the women at Iowa State had maybe the greatest recruiting class they've ever had. And one of those women, and I believe this woman to be probably the next Caitlin Clark, although I've argued with people about this. There's a Juju Watkins out and plays for USC, but she is out in Southern California, and there's too many things going against her. She doesn't get the notoriety out there, although USC is going to be part of the Big Ten next year, and she'll come east to play, so she'll get more notoriety. There's also a woman I talked about. She had played at USC and transferred to Utah. She is a lady from Alaska, one of the back villages of Alaska. Her last name is Pilley. She's about 6'3" and had 37 against South Carolina,
Okay.
The number one team in our nation.
Yeah.
But I really believe there's a freshman girl for Iowa State that is going to be the next Caitlin Clark of our country. Her name is Audie Crooks. And Audie Crooks sort of has a tie to Jesup. Her coach in high school, a man named Brandon Schwab, was an assistant coach here in Jesup for about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. He did football too, right?
He was assistant football coach as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember him.
Yeah, and Brandon was Audie Crooks' coach at Algona Garrigan, Bishop Garrigan in Algona, Iowa. And she had just incredible numbers there. Crooks attended Bishop Garrigan in Algona, Iowa, where she starred in the school's basketball team. She also competed in the amateur athletic union circuit for the Cy Select Wolves. Aside from basketball, Crook competed in track and field, winning the 1A state title in both the shot put and the discus throw as a sophomore. And her freshman season was canceled due to COVID-19 pandemic, so she couldn't place in anything. Then her junior and senior year, she won the shot put, including the 1A state record of 45 feet 1 inch. For a girl, that's incredible. She also played volleyball, earning first team all-conference honors as a junior. But as a freshman, she led Bishop Garrigan to a 25-2 record, scoring over 600 points and 270 field goals, along with Molly Joyce, who's playing down at Truman State now, I believe, down in Missouri. The two freshmen were named to the All-State team, and They lost to Newell Fonda, a perennial state qualifier year after year as a freshman year. And again, their sophomore year, Crooks had an incredible year, averaging 10 rebounds, 4 blocks, and they were 25-2 again. And Newell Fonda again beat them in the finals, with Crooks adding 25 points and 10 rebounds in the championship game. Her junior year, they finally broke the door down and they beat MMCRU in the state championship game. Crooks averaged 23 points a game, 13 rebounds a game, 3 blocks a game, shooting 72% from the field. Just remarkable. Yeah. Shooter, soft hands. But Audie was named the Iowa Female Athlete of the Year by the Des Moines Register junior year. And her senior year, she just broke out, if it was possible. She had a remarkable year. She came back. She was happy. Ran into Newell Fonda again and finally had a chance to beat them in the state championship. She ended up with over 2,700 points for a high school career and 1,300 rebounds, finishing third all-time in state history in both categories. Crooks also set the all-time mark in field goals made and finished second in field goal percentage. She was rated a 4-star recruit and considered one of the best high school prospects of the country. Her first offer was to Illinois State. She received offers from Iowa, Illinois, or Iowa, Drake, UNI, and Iowa State. She going to Iowa State, and she was from a real athletic family. Jimmy Crooks was her father's name. He died her senior year in high school. And he played college basketball in Mankato State and Southern Nazarene. Her mother, Michelle Cooks, is one of the all-time leading scorers for Bishop Garrigan. And her uncle, Matt Vitzum, is the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Grand Valley State. Outside of sports, Crook participated in jazz choir and played trumpet in school band and at Bishop Garrigan. But the neat thing about this woman is, like Caitlin Clark, Dale, she has a personality and a smile that just draws people. Mm-hmm. But talk about strong woman, and she can shoot the 3, but Bill Finley won't keep her outside long because she's so strong a woman, and she can take a hit inside. There's not very many, she's only a freshman and she's averaging 16 points a game and starting for Iowa State right now. But I believe she is going to be the Caitlin Clark of the next few years.
And they should be, because they're starting, they got 4 or 5 freshmen that are really, really good.
That are playing a lot, yeah.
And so they should be set, if things go right, the next several years to be a very good team. And
yeah.
So I watched her play in the state tournaments.
Right.
And I really wondered whether or not she'd be able to play the college game, if she could do the running and everything. But apparently that's not a problem. She's doing really, really well. So
and I've been watching the minutes she's playing for Coach Finley. She's only playing about 28 minutes a night. And part of it is they had, like you said, they had an incredible recruiting class. She wasn't starting early on, so But now she's starting, and they're bringing a nice post girl off the bench behind her. Mm-hmm. And Finley's always been good with the 3, and she's going to face a lot of double teams down low because she's so strong, and there's somebody's going to be open.
Yeah.
So it's they're fun to watch. I think actually, as we record on Wednesday night, this is the 17th, or
mm-hmm.
and they're playing not Baylor tonight.
They just got through with Baylor.
Yeah,
I'm not sure who they're playing.
They might be playing Oklahoma tonight. But keep an eye on Audie Crooks here, people. She's incredible. Dale, what do you have for us here as far as
to go with my baseball theme? I didn't tell you,
baseball,
but
yeah.
I have some rule things here, 6 or 7 of them. I thought I'd ask you, set up the scene, ask you what you think the umpire should do, okay? And if you get tired of them, tell me and I'll quit doing them. But this is from Big League Baseball Puzzlers by Dom Forker. Dave Winfield of the Yankees singles with 1 out in the top of the 9th inning. Don Mattingly, who follows him in the lineup, smacks a ringing line drive toward Blue Jay first baseman Willie Upshaw. Winfield, thinking that the ball will be caught on the fly by Upshaw, retreats to first base. In fact, Upshaw fields the ball on a short hop, and Winfield, knowing that he cannot safely reach second base, remains on first base. Upshaw first steps on the bag and then tags Winfield. Is it an inning-ending?
So your first steps on the base.
Excuse me?
He first steps on the base.
Yeah, and he tags Winfield.
No, it's not. He is. So Winfield is safe at first base.
Yeah, you're right, because getting the runner out first is no longer a force play, a second. And so therefore, since Winfield's on the bag, he can't be out. So very good.
Well,
I'm impressed by that.
I've got there's a quick story here before you ask me more. I coached for 40 years, never got an ulcer. I umpired one summer for 6 weeks. Had an ulcer by the end of that 6 weeks.
Okay, all right. Okay. This is not a question for you, but we talked about cheating in sports one time, and so I thought another little example here of how they try. It's called the blacked out game. Umpire Henry Wendelstedt was behind the plate in New York when the light suddenly went out in the 6th inning during a notorious 3-day blackout in the northeast some years back. What's the umpire-in-chief's decision when he's standing in the dark? The game is declared suspended, and the action is resumed from that point. The crew chief then documents the situation at the time of suspension. When the lights went out at Shea Stadium, there was a runner on first base. But when the game resumed at a later date, Wendelstedt noted that the runner had mysteriously advanced to third base. Oh, no, he said, we're not going to start that. You on third, go back to first. The players laughed, so did Wendelstedt. He didn't blame them for trying. Besides, he had the last laugh. So we talk about cheating in sports. We're going a long time. Okay, this actually...
I hadn't heard that. That's a great story.
Okay. In a game between Los Angeles and host Cincinnati, the Dodgers second baseman is called out at first base on a bang-bang play. But the Dodgers contend that there was a tie between the runner's foot hitting the bag and the fielder's throw hitting the first baseman's glove. Tie goes to the runner, they say. The umpire agrees there was a tie, but disagrees with their interpretation of the rule. He calls the runner out. Who is right?
Say the first part again.
It's a bang-bang play at first base. The team said, no, it was a tie, and the tie goes to the runner. The umpire says, yes, I agree it was a tie, but he's still out.
I don't know why that would be. I'm missing something, Dale.
It says the tie goes to the runner is what the team said. The umpire said, I believe it was a tie, but he's out.
I don't understand. So the rule, that's not a correct interpretation?
Okay, well, the umpire is right. Some rule books do say that a tie goes to the runner, but not the Major League rule book. There's no mention of a tie, in fact. The runner either beats the throw or he doesn't. In this case, he didn't. So he is whatever the umpire says he is.
All right, interesting.
Yeah.
There had to be an argument that ensued on that. Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't realize that wasn't a Major League rule because I doubt if most broadcasters realize that.
There's in here where there was I can't remember who the first baseman, he was famous, where if it was going to be a close play, if he knew the umpire was watching the base, he would slap his glove like the ball got in there first. He got 2 outs that way in a very close game. So there's always people working.
Yeah.
2 balls in play. Can that happen? In a 1959 game between the Cardinals and Cubs, Chicago pitcher Bob Anderson walked St. Louis batter Stan Musial. But the Bruin catcher argued with home plate umpire Vic Delmore that Musial had fouled off the 3-1 pitch, which was then rolling to the backstop. When Musial noticed that the ball was not being retrieved by the catcher, he sprinted to second base. In the meantime, third baseman Alvin Dark tracked down the loose ball and fired it to shortstop Ernie Banks, who was covering second base. During the preceding play, umpire Delmore had unthinkingly given the pitcher a new ball, and the pitcher, trying to throw out Musial at second base, sailed the throw into center field. Musial, who saw the ball go rolling freely, decided to advance to third base, but Banks then tagged the runner out with the ball that Dark had thrown to him. You've got 2 balls in a play. What's the ruling?
The real ball is ruling. Whatever is happening with the real ball.
Based umpire Bill Jesup ruled Musial out because he was tagged with the original ball.
Yeah.
Very good. You want a couple more?
Let's do one more.
Okay.
In the meantime, those of you that watched the Kansas City Dolphins game on Peacock the other night had to buy your membership to Peacock. That they're talking about Major League Baseball streaming more in the upcoming years. So beware, you'll be buying memberships everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. One more. I gotta read this one. A Blue Jay runner is on third base with 1 out when Toronto puts on the squeeze play. The Indian first baseman steals the sign and charges home plate. He catches the pitch before it reaches home plate and applies the tag to the runner 5 feet up the third base line. Is that a legal play?
No, that's batter interference.
Okay. It's a double penalty, actually. It says, no, there's a double penalty on the defensive team, a balk and interference. The runner scores on the balk. The batter is awarded first base on the interference. Both penalties are the result of the first baseman's illegal grabs.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think that could happen.
I didn't realize that was a balk.
It would be a balk because the pitch never got through the ball, but it never got, he pretended to throw the ball, it's more or less is what the ruling is. The ball never got to home plate.
So you're a former catcher. So if the batter hits your glove, is that a balk?
No, it's interference.
But it's not a balk.
No, because the ball is dead. As soon as the bat hits the catcher's mitt, then the ball is dead, and the batter gets first base.
But the ball would have been dead when the first baseman hit it in that story.
I don't know. They don't mention that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
yeah. All right. I love those. I could do that all night long, Dale.
I remember Bob
enjoy
Bailey
that.
talking once about 2 balls in play.
Yeah.
And he says, they asked him as a catcher if he'd ever seen it. He said one time he was at Candlestick Park, which had those high winds, and a guy hit a foul pop-up off from the third base side over the stands. And so the umpire gives the catcher a new ball. But in the meantime, the ball gets hit by the wind, comes sailing over, and the third baseman catches it for the out. So now they've got 2 balls in play, and the umpire just reached down and pulled the ball out of his catcher's mitt and put it back in his bag. That's the only time he's ever seen 2 balls at one time on the field.
So a great story here for you. The Irish came over. The Irish girls basketball team came over, and we took the players and the coaches to a Waterloo Indians game. There was still the Indians then. And the first guy got up and hit a double, and the crowd got up and cheered, run man, run boy, run. And the second guy got up and hit a triple, and the crowd got up and cheered, run boy, run. And the next guy was put on base by a walk.
Okay.
And he got up, one of the coaches got up and started yelling, "Run, boy, run!" And I said to him, he doesn't have to run to first base. He's got 4 balls on him. And the guy says, "Walk proudly, and my son, walk proudly." So all right.
I'm sorry I brought this all up. So
if you have children in the car, you may want to mute that.
Yeah, you're in trouble now.
There you go.
The FCA or whatever is going to be after you. I guess we're not on the public air, are we? I don't know how it works. I have no idea how it works anymore.
No. So we can say all those words that George Carlin said you couldn't say on here. All right, but. I want to talk tonight about a minimalist from the old Soviet Union.
Okay.
His name, he was called S in much of the writings from the time, and he was around in the 1970s. S was, his real name was Solomon Cherishevsky, the Unforgettable. And Solomon, or S, was working at a newspaper office.
Was he Jewish?
He would have been Jewish. He was Jewish.
Okay.
And he was working at a newspaper office in the old Soviet Union, and his editor was sending him to stories, and the guy would leave the office without any notepads or anything, and his editor was getting mad. He'd come back, and the guy would write stories, and he'd say, "You're making things up." He said, "No, I don't need a notepad. I don't forget anything." Thus, the name Solomon the Unforgettable. But his editor didn't believe him, so he tested him. And the man could remember as many as 70 numbers in a row. Now, Dale, here's a challenge for you. Do you remember your number from when you were a child?
My telephone number?
Yeah.
Yeah. 636-2448.
Interesting.
Now, you can't tell me if I'm right or wrong, I know, but...
Mine was 547-2302.
Okay.
And they say humans' minds are made to remember 6, if not 9 numbers.
Yeah, well, telephone numbers are the length they are because they figure how many people could remember.
Yep. Yep. But Shashevsky could remember as many as 70 numbers in a row. His editor sent him to a neuropsychologist, a man by the name of Professor Alexander Luria. Now, Alexander Luria is a pretty famous neuropsychologist.
Okay.
And he proceeded to talk to Shashevsky and challenge him. And he would give him stories, and he studied him for 12 years.
Wow.
Shashevsky would come back and remember what Luria had on the first day he met him, and the second day he met him, and the third day. And he'd remember what they talked about. And he would remember incredible things, stories, complex science formulas, poems in foreign languages. He'd memorize them in minutes. Mm-hmm. He could also report extensive lists of numbers or letters in reverse orders. Not only this, he remembered them years afterwards. Even events from his early childhood could be recalled, including things that happened when he was still in his crib. There also appeared to be no limit to his digit span, as opposed to the 7 or 9 letters that most humans. Estes' experience in the world around him was quite different from ours. He was born with a condition known as synesthesia, aluminum. What that is, and this is in like 1 in 10,000 people have this. You experience 2 different senses when you are doing something. Like, for example, if you hear something, you also taste something. Or if you see, you also smell something. Because of that, he had an incredible memory, but it also drove him nuts. The former KGB thought they could use this man. Mm-hmm. You know, imagine being with a man and hearing things. He would know everything, and he could tell them everything. Shashevsky didn't want to work with the KGB, and the KGB got pretty angry, and so got him run out of his job as a reporter. And so Shashevsky went out and became a minimalist and performed. But the KGB was so angry with him that they would plant people in the audience and heckle him so that he couldn't hear things and would make him look bad. Mm-hmm. Well, eventually Shereshevsky ended up driving taxi. And the last he was ever heard of, he was driving taxi in Moscow in 1959, and no one ever heard from him again. Mm-hmm. He drove him crazy. couldn't read fiction because the writers would put smells and tastes and sights in there, and it would mess with his mind. His wife tried to explain nothing to him. There couldn't be nothing. It was a terrible curse to have, to not forget things. You know, he would write something down, trying to forget it. He would write something down on a piece of paper, and then tear it all up, and he'd still remember it. So then he would take it to the fire and burn it. He'd still remember it. I mean, I just can't imagine that curse.
That would be.
His name, that was S, the unforgettable, or Solomon Shereshevsky, the unforgettable.
Where did the information come from then to write about him?
Well, Luria wrote about that.
Okay.
And Luria moved to New York. In one of the other articles I read about, a writer for the New York Times interviewed Luria on S.
Okay.
Is how it got out there. So
it's sort of like the Midas touches. Lots of things where people think it's a blessing, and it turns out to be the curse of their life.
Yeah, it was. That's such a good point, Dale. Oh, one other story he was amazing. He could dilate his eyes just by thinking about the lights getting brighter. Mm-hmm. He could make the temperature in one hand 2 degrees colder by thinking it was touching a block of ice, and 2 degrees warmer in the other hand by thinking he had his hand on a hot stove.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Now, I had some students that had the opposite of that. I mean, they could forget anything they had heard or read in a matter of seconds, and they could never recall it ever again. So
I go through that.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Dale, before we get to our final thing here,
you want to do the schedule?
Tell us what we have coming up at the Steve Brown Arts Center.
Okay, pretty soon, February 4th is coming right up, isn't it? That's the Firehouse Breakfast. Is that the last one they're doing, I think? It may be.
I think so.
And we're going to have an art show at the Firehouse between 8:30 and 10:30. And so there'll be some works of art there, and we looked the place over last time to try to figure out where to put things, and I think it'll work out fine. February 17, we're having a Ken Muehlhau art showing at Winding Creek, and I was at Winding Creek on Saturday. Darrell Pine had his 90th birthday. He lives there. So they had a little reception for him, and they have several of Ken Muehlhau's works of art on the wall there. So we saw several of them already, and they're worth going to see. And there are more than what's being displayed at the present time. But you might see the bear, the grizzly bear. It's just excellent. March 16 is the St. Patrick's Day Parade and the Irish Blue Drifters Trio at the Sanity Room. And that's from 7 to 10. And that must, you remember what day that is?
That's Saturday.
It's a Saturday? Okay, from 7 to 10. The St. Patrick's Day Parade. April 14th, there's an artist at the LCHS Pancake Breakfast. And you have to tell me what that stands for, LCHS.
Littleton Chatham Historical
Society.
Little
Chatham. Okay, and that's in Littleton then.
Yes.
Okay, at the museum there?
Yep, at the museum there.
Okay. May the 20th, the Flowers and Planters in Jesup, is that when they're going up?
Yes.
We're going to put those down. We don't have a time yet for that pancake breakfast or when exactly, but you'll see these flowers and planters go up on Young Street here, right? Through the business district. And these are ones you've acquired from Independence?
From Independence.
Yeah.
And also, Mike has several of his own, the city has several of its own that they're going to put out as well. So.
Yeah, okay, that'll be great. That's be Mike Fettgetter.
Yes.
That works. So that's going to spruce up the downtown then, starting in May the 20th. May 24th, there's a summer welcome at the Buchanan County Tourism Center, and that's your railroad depot, right? From 4 to 6. And June 20 through 22, Jesup Farmers Day, we're having the Jenga Challenge. And you're going to have the 2x4
The 2x4 Jengas.
Okay, so you need to lift weights or whatever so they can handle those boards.
There you go.
Yeah, okay. And July 27th, we'll stop there. The Littleton Watermelon Days are coming from 12 12 to 10? Is
Yeah,
that right?
noon till
Wow.
10.
Noon till 10. Okay, so it'll be an all-day event. And we had a pretty good crowd there last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if those people come back and everybody brings somebody, why, it'll be pretty nice. So we'll just go through July the 27th. But,
There you go.
The Littleton Watermelon Day, July 27th. It'll be a lot warmer then than it is today.
That's probably a great place to stop, Dale, as we wrap up the week. There's a couple other events. Next week we have Craig Detweiler coming in. He's going to play his trumpet, I believe,
Okay.
for us.
All right.
And so Blake will have his challenge with setting up for. Excuse me, I said Detweiler. It's Craig Dietrich.
Oh.
Craig Dietrich.
Okay.
Actually. And then the following week, we are going to do our first traveling concert. A lady named Emily Ann Bauer is playing at the Legion in Fairbank, and we are going to do a live podcast on Facebook that
Okay.
night.
Okay.
So Blake has his hands full the next 2 weeks.
Well, he can do her.
He can.
Yeah.
He can. So we went from not having a guest for a couple of weeks to we're going to have a lot of guests. I talked to the mayor. The mayor is on vacation right now, but plan on having him back after Emily's concert the week afterwards, and then Mr. Cohagen will be back the following week.
Okay.
So we got a lot going on here.
We should take a minute and say something about Jack Miller. Up at school, set the all-time scoring record for boys basketball,
Oh.
and still has several games left to add on to that. And his mother was Jay Donnelly, who
Right.
I taught in second grade, and one of the
Yeah.
best athletes ever to go through Jesup. And this kid is really good. I guess he's going to play ball for Brooks McCowan over at Upper Iowa next year. So
Yeah, he's
he can
handy.
put it in there. Okay, so
is handy.
congratulations to Jack Miller.
If you'd like to donate to the Steve Brown Arts Center or have an idea for an event, go to the SteveBrownArtsCenter.org or call 319-290-0241 and leave a message. I'm Jim Gillespie, and thanks to co-host Dale Rueber. Thanks to our producers Blake Tempus and Kelly C. Haas and co-worker 59 Studios. Thanks to the audience for bringing these stray dogs into your house week after week. Remember, each day is about little victories.
Very little.